Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a deeply relatable, honestly pretty everyday frustration. If you've ever spent more than 5 minutes around a young child, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You ask a toddler to do something super simple like, hey, put your shoes on, and suddenly, bam, you're negotiating a hostage situation. It's that exact moment where a basic request just spirals into this exhausting battle of wills. But what if the problem isn't actually that they're refusing to listen? What if it's about how we expect them to hear us? We are going to explore a brilliantly simple concept straight from Japan. It completely flips our understanding of toddler behavior, and honestly, it shows us how just a tiny, literal pause can totally change the dynamic in your home.
Section 1. The repeating trap, and why asking over and over completely backfires.
Okay, let's dive into this. As adults, as caregivers, we naturally operate at, well, adult speed, right? We've got places to be, schedules to keep, and we are just used to things moving at a certain pace. So when we ask that universally echoed question, why won't they just listen? And we don't get an immediate response to something like, put your shoes on. Our immediate instinct is to fill that gap. A single second goes by, nothing happens, so we repeat it. Another second passes, we say it again, maybe a little louder this time, maybe with a bit more edge to our voice. And within just a few seconds, what started as a completely neutral request has just bubbled over into major frustration on both sides. The volume goes up, the tension goes up, and you're just left staring at a kid who seems to be actively, purposely defying you.
And this perfectly illustrates exactly where the disconnect happens. Think about the parent's view for a second. When we don't get an instant reaction, our adult brains immediately jump to the conclusion that the child is ignoring us. We think, oh, they're being difficult on purpose. It's defiance, right? But what about the toddler's reality? Here's the kicker. Most of the time, they are simply still processing that very first request. By demanding a split-second response, we are artificially speeding things up. We push, we repeat, and by doing that, we are essentially backing them into a corner of resistance before they have even had a chance to comply.
Section 2, Inside the Toddler Brain, and the Neuroscience of Shifting Gears. To really grasp why this happens, we have to look at the biological reality of what is actually going on inside a young child's head. You see, a toddler's brain isn't just a mini version of an adult's brain. It's literally a construction zone. The parts of their brain that handle executive control, focus, and rapid decision-making, they are very much still under construction. Because of this biology, they simply can't switch gears instantly. I mean, think about the heavy cognitive lifting it takes for a toddler just to put their shoes on. First, they have to physically hear your words over whatever else is happening in their world. Second, they have to decode and understand the meaning of those words. Third, they have to deliberately shift their attention away from whatever super fascinating thing they were just doing. And finally, fourth, they actually have to decide to take physical action. That entire chain takes so much longer than we think. When we repeat ourselves too quickly, we are interrupting this fragile process. We are adding noise, we are adding pressure, and we basically knock their brain right out of processing mode and shove it directly into resisting mode. The more we push, the more they naturally push back.
Section 3. The Power of Jiritsu, the Japanese approach to self-control.
Now, let's shift gears and look at a beautifully different approach. Over in Japan, there is a distinct cultural perspective when it comes to how children learn. Instead of viewing a slow response as some sort of challenge to authority, adults there tend to guide kids with a lot more patience, rather than relying on volume or pressure. And it really centers around this amazing key concept known as Jiritsu. Jiritsu is essentially the idea that true self-control isn't learned just by taking orders. It is learned by having the actual physical and emotional space to adjust your own behavior. In a lot of Japanese settings, you'll see adults deliberately slow the moment down. They don't react instantly. They watch. They wait. They let the child come to the action instead of, pushing them into it. They recognize that tiny quiet space right after a request, that is the exact environment where a child's internal self-control begins to take root.
Section 4. Mastering the 5-second rule. Turning the pause into cooperation.
So the crucial point here is how we actually apply this philosophy in our own chaotic daily lives, like when we're frantically rushing out the door. To do this, we have to fight our own adult instinct to repeat ourselves. Instead, we have to deliberately give the thinking part of the child's brain a chance to come online. And the magic number for this? 5. Not waiting 1 second, not waiting 2 seconds, but giving it a full, uninterrupted 5 seconds. Because that pause, it isn't doing nothing. It is actively giving your child the runway they need to process. I really want you to feel the actual weight of this silence. Imagine I just asked you to put your shoes on. Now I am going to wait exactly 5 seconds. Ready? Put your shoes on. 1, 2, 3, 4,
5. That was 5 full seconds. As an adult, that silence probably felt incredibly long, maybe even a little awkward, right? You probably wanted me to just say something else to fill the void. But for a toddler, that exact amount of silence is precisely what they need to process your words.
All right, here is exactly how you execute this in real life. Step 1, say it. Just once. Keep your request as clear and as short as possible. Something simple, like, shoes on, please. Step 2, stop. Seriously, do not add more words. Do not rush in to fill the silence. Wait your full 5 seconds and just watch them. What you're looking for is a tiny clue. Maybe it's a glance, a slight shift in their posture, or a slow movement toward the shoes. That right there is visual proof that their little brain is working. If you jump in at that exact moment, you completely cut the process off. But what if those 5 seconds pass and absolutely nothing happens? Well, hey, it is completely okay if this doesn't work perfectly on the very first try. That brings us to step 3. You step in again, totally calmly, using the exact same tone and the exact same words. Not louder, just steadier.
Now, what's really interesting here is how this completely redefines our whole idea of success as caregivers. Because think about it, if our only goal is instant obedience, we are always going to resort to yelling or threatening or repeating ourselves, simply because we are demanding a robotic response. But when we shift our goal to building our child's independent ability to respond, well then we start prioritizing their long-term growth. By just holding that quiet space, we are actually teaching them how to process information and follow through entirely on their own, without needing us to drag them across the finish line.
I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with this incredibly powerful reframing thought. What looks like ignoring is often just a child still thinking. Let that sink in. The next time you find yourself about to repeat a request for the 3rd time in 10 seconds, stop. Catch yourself. Use that 5-second wait to give them the grace and the space to catch up to you. Because it's right there inside that small, quiet pause that you will discover where real listening actually begins. And honestly, it kind of makes you wonder, if a simple 5-second pause can completely transform how a toddler responds to us, where else in our fast-paced adult lives might a little extra silence change everything?